It's about that time of day again here, boys and girls. It's newsletter time. Joseph James here, School of Trade, Sideways Markets, for your nightly newsletter for Wednesday, a wacky Wednesday, October 15th, 2014. Boy, we got exactly what we had paid for today, boys and girls. Wacky Wednesday at its finest. Now, of course, when I talk about Wacky Wednesday, I'm talking about the Wednesday before OPEX. And oh my goodness, the volume, the insanity today. What an incredible situation we have in these markets right now. If you're trying to make sense of it, you're missing the point, right? All we're going to do right now is be happy we got all this volatility and make that money, honey. What a fantastic day. Wacky Wednesday lived up to its expectations. And I hope you followed my advice yesterday, staying bullish on gold, bearish on Russell, bearish on crude. Hope you followed my advice that I gave you guys last night. Before we jump into all the charts, though, and we have a very exciting jam-packed newsletter for you guys, I want to remind you to get over here to sidewaysmarkets.com, our trading blog, where you can get 3 important things. Now, make sure you're watching this video on our blog right now. If you're not watching it on our blog, make sure you follow that link. It'll be below the YouTube video if you're watching the YouTube channel. Below the video tonight, you can download all the charts. First things first here tonight, you can download all the charts right below today's video. Every chart that I'm using here tonight in the video, you can download and have it ready for the action tomorrow morning or this evening here, depending on when you start your day for tomorrow. Second thing here, upper left-hand corner. You might be wondering what it feels like to be in our trade room, right? We have a live trade room. It's open every day of the week, and we have been killing it in that live trade room the past few months. As you guys know, our newsletter has just been cleaning up here, and of course, the results in our trade room are always improving, right? Always improving. I would love to welcome you out. Join our live trade room tomorrow anytime on a free pass. Grab that free pass in the upper left-hand corner. Lower left-hand corner, I've got an email list for our nightly newsletter. I want to make sure you guys know you can register for our nightly newsletter mailing list, and I'll send you an email every evening once our newsletter goes live. So 3 things here over on our blog at Sideways Markets. First, download a copy of today's charts below the video. Second thing, come join me in the trade room. I'll show you what it means to be a member here at School of Trade. Get a free pass for you, upper left-hand corner. And then lower left-hand corner, give me your name and your email address. And guys, if you register for our newsletter or if you grab a free pass, don't forget, check your email. I'm going to send you an email to verify that you are not a robot. All right, so I'll check your email on that once you register. All righty, we all set to go here. Everybody's stretched up, seatbelts on, helmets fastened. All right, Wacky Wednesday, boy, did it live up to its billing here today. First of all, what happened across the board today? Well, another exciting session. Volume was huge today. NYSE, New York Stock Exchange volume almost double its 3-month average today. Incredible. There was over 4 million for volume on the S&P today. 4 million with an M. Yeah, as in twice as much as the average. Now here we have the Russell, right? Our small cap stocks here in the U.S. I prefer to trade this stock index future over the S&P because we get a lot more movement, right? And it's great for a small trade account, $10 per tick, lots of range every day. Love the mini Russell, symbol is TF here in NinjaTrader. Mini Russell, clearly bearish right now. But today we found a way to push off that low. We actually sold the high of this morning in our trade room. I barely missed that buy off the low, and right now we're waiting to get short here up at that next sell zone here on the Russell. 3 steps to success on the Russell. What's my trend? Trend is down. How do I know? Lower lows, lower highs, red clouds, below the key moving averages. Easy peasy. What do I do with this downtrend? I want to sell. Where am I going to sell? Where's my setup? The second step to success. I've got trigger zone set up, 72.4, 91.9, 10.8. And I don't see us getting to 52.2 anytime soon, but that's still there if you need it. I have a reversal line set up at 1098.1, right below 1100. So as we go higher, we're looking for sell setups. All those sell zones overhead are just waiting there for us to get short. What's the third step to success? We know the first step is the trend. Second step is find the setup. What's the third step? Find the entry trigger. How do we know where that is? Well, come in and see me tomorrow morning in my trade room. I'll be calling these trades live in real time, giving you precise entry triggers. Also, you can log into your course materials as a member of School of Trade. We teach you guys all the entry triggers there as well, along with everything else you could possibly need to be successful with us every day in the trade room. All right, so make sure you guys come out and see me tomorrow. I'll give you guys those real-time updates and give you all, right, those exact trigger locations for our trade short here on the Russell. Moving forward, though, right, you might notice there at the bottom, we got some volume at the bottom of this chart. We can see the volume completely flat. And let me get back to 64 here real quick. You'll notice on the 64, you'll notice here, get a little bit higher low, get a little bit of a double top there, right? So we're going to be looking at a sideways range here. Now, we're still bearish, but this is what that sideways range looks like. So as you go further down here right now, right, you can see, there we go, tumbling lower, and then here's your sideways range, right? So you get your sideways range right about there, okay? Now, the Russell is one of two markets that's trading sideways right now. Okay, crude oil is one of them as well. We'll take a look at that in a moment. What I want you guys to be aware of is we're bearish on the Russell. I'm looking to continue selling short, and I've got levels now overhead for me right now. So I know what I want to do. I want to sell. Now, where do I sell? Sell zone here. I've got trigger zone sell. I've got trigger zone sell. Trigger zone sell, 87.4, 79.8, 68.9. All of these are very easy. Double top, it'll be a quadruple top if we get it again, right? Bottom line is we're going to sell these resistance areas overhead right now in the Russell. Once we get short, where would our profit targets be? 46.2, 36.5. And that's right above the big round number of 1,000, folks, 1008.8. So now we know we're looking to sell short on the Russell, and I've got you guys here with a number of different sell zones you can use, 1, 2, and 3 overhead. We're going to use those for tomorrow. And when we do get short, we got targets down below us here right now that we'll use as we go lower. Moving faster time frame here. Last but not least, all the scalpers out there on this mighty Russell. Here's a really easy chart where you can see exactly what that range looks like. Keep in mind, we get a short-term range right here, right? There's your short-term range. Okay, that's where we're going to be looking to sell the highs, take the profit of the lows. And then we also, you can see up top here, we also have this kind of a medium-term range, right? Not really a long-term range, more like a mid-term range. And you can see here we've got, again, sell zone at the top of the short-term range. Then we've got your trigger zone, your second trigger zone overhead. And then you've got your 1101.2. Keep in mind that 1100, there is a reversal line up here too, right, which we found on the 64. So if this Russell happens to want to go higher here, I will be looking to sell it as it goes higher here. We're going to continue to follow that trend. Right? As I always say, the trend is your friend. We're going to give that trend the benefit of the doubt. We're going to ride the horse that got us here. And right now, that downtrend is still making us money right now. So we're going to keep looking to sell short here on that Russell. All right? As you're going lower, you got targets waiting for you, 46.2, right? 38.1, and then check that 32 anchor. And I gave you guys the final target for a runner target on that 64 anchor chart on the Russell. Moving forward from the mighty mini Russell to that funny yellow metal. Yeah, everything's pretty much coming together here. What we thought was going to be the case here on gold. Big downtrend. We made it all the way below that 1,200 big round number. We made it all the way below the January 1st lows, right down there around that 1885 area from earlier on this year. And then, of course, everybody started panicking about this slowdown in the global economy. Ebola's everywhere right now, right? You've heard the news. So there's a lot of fear out there in these markets. It's kind of funny because over the last week, you've watched the general trading population in stocks go from bad news is good news, right? Because for the past 6 months, every time there was bad news, all the stock market would cheer because they would say, perfect. Bad news means they're not going to raise rates. They're not going to stop the free flow of money, right? Janet Yellen and crew are not going to stop the party. Okay, as my good friend Alan Greenspan always said, the central bankers are the ones that have to go and take away the punch bowl when things get too good, right? You know what I'm saying, right? I know you know what I'm saying. So we know that bad news has been good news over the past few months. Well, it's a funny thing, that bad news, right? Because all of a sudden, nope, it appears that now the balance has shifted. Now bad news is bad news, right? Because now it appears that this global economy is starting to weigh on the confidence of all these bullish, these perma-bull stock traders, right? All these speculators on CNBC and Bloomberg. And now they're starting to realize, wait a second, we got deflation in Europe. We got big slowdown in China. We've got, for the most part, relatively decent news here in the U.S., but even that's not enough to keep the whole world afloat right now. And I think everybody's a bit worried right now. This global economy may kind of overwhelm everything right now and kill some of the confidence out there. So gold definitely pushing higher right now. We talked about this yesterday. We wanted to get above this 38.9, if you recall, right? That was my words last night, was let's see us get above 38.9 and stay above 38.9. I think by the end of this week, right, I think we'll probably be up at that 1266.1. So still going to remain bullish here on gold right now. Even though we're in a downtrend right now, there are some what's the word? Unprecedented situation under the gold right now. And so we're going to wait and see what happens here. Definitely still bullish on gold right now, even though we're in a long-term downtrend. I just don't see any reason why this gold won't keep pushing higher here. We saw bond yields today below 2% here in the U.S. So the fear is definitely picking up there in this marketplace. And guys, I want to make sure we remember too, we've been here before. Okay, let's back off the ledge. We don't need to go selling all of our assets and buying gold right now. Okay, we definitely have some bullishness because of the fear factor in the markets right now, but we've been here before. All right, don't go going crazy. All right, take my advice. We're not quite there yet. You don't need to be barricading yourself in grandma's basement with a bunch of gold and a bunch of barrels of crude and some good cigars. Okay, everything's going to be just fine. Obviously, if you turn the news stations on, you'll think Ebola's in your backyard right now, but we just heard today they got that contained as well. Now, what are we seeing here? 32 here on the gold. Pretty interesting here, you can see. We got and stayed above that key support. Remember, this was the big number here for us over the past week. This was key resistance before. We got above it and we stayed above it. That was the most important thing here, at least in my opinion, as far as calling this thing bullish. And that was, of course, last week. So we've been bullish here on gold for pretty much the last week here. And now we can see we're getting new highs earlier today. And we started the day today going sideways, right? We started the session today going sideways. In fact, we sold that high right there, made some pretty good profit, made about $1,000 off that high, selling that high earlier. You can see this little wick right there. But the reality is we go up. This is very interesting today. We went up, pulled back, and then we sat for a while. I thought we'd collapse back down. I was going to sell it short again, but it never collapsed. It then goes up again, but it never makes that new high, right? It never even tests the high. So I immediately start thinking, okay, we're bullish, but be patient because it looks like these buyers may have taken a breather right now. What's my trend? Trend is up. Where's my buy set up for an uptrend? Right here. I've got buy zones, 36.2, 32.8. I've got 28.1, 25.2, 24.6, and 21.3. Now, if we happen to go lower, once I get below that 21.3, that's when all hell breaks loose and we head back to 1200. I don't see that happening tomorrow, but just in case, right? Just in case that does happen. What I think we're going to be doing here, though, is going sideways into tomorrow. I will definitely be looking to buy these areas of support below me, all right? I will definitely be buying those supports below me. And if we do have the luxury of getting long here tomorrow, I have targets overhead, 50.3, 55.1, 64.3. And don't forget, we get that dynamic target overhead here, right, which will be the top of that channel. Okay, guys, looking to be a buyer here on gold. Last but not least, boy, you guys are lucky I'm an English teacher. Luckily, I stick to my day job. Last but not least here on the gold, here's a 16 anchor here on the gold, and you can see exactly what I'm talking about. Gold is clearly bullish, But when you look closely, you start seeing some reasons why I'm saying be patient here before we go start mortgaging the farm, right, and buying gold here. We got volume really just kind of gave up on this thing, as you can see as the day turned out today. There's no divergence here, right, because we got lower highs and lower lows. But, my good friend Charles Dow told me back in the late 1800s that volume confirms the trend. Volume confirms the move. And so right now we're definitely bullish because, we got those higher lows, but we do have that lower high right now. So what I'll be doing is I'm going to stay focused on buying. Again, I got some buy zones down bottom here for you guys tonight. 34.6 will be another one for you. And then again, we got targets overhead here. Now, the reason why I mentioned this kind of consolidation here is because this is going to be used now for our profit targets. All right, so what I'll do is I'll draw that trend line down off that high. And if we happen to go lower here, right, I got this little trend line here, this channel. If we're able to buy that low of that channel, I'm not going to be trying to get that big runner, right? I'm not going to expect that huge runner target that we normally would if we were kept making higher highs, right? Like back here, right? Higher highs, we pull back, right? You buy that, you let it run. We're not going to have the luxury to let it run here unless we get a new higher high. So again, price comes back, I'm going to buy these lows, and then I've got to take some profit off here. I'll draw the trend line, I'll find my wedge, right, Fibonacci retracement levels. Members, you know what I'm talking about, right? Trigger zone number 2. So we know that we're seeing a little bit of sluggishness here at the end of the day today. So we're going to be watching closely for that consolidating wedge or triangle on the gold. All right, guys, so be aware of that for tomorrow. And then last but not least, we couldn't forget about our good friend, the black gold, the Texas T, the crude oil futures. We are, well, unless you've been living under a rock the past few weeks, I think everybody's heard, or at least maybe you pulled up to the gas station here this week and you said, what the heck is going on here? What is this, 1987 right now? What is crude? What is gas, $2 right now at the pump? I'll tell you right now, here in Los Angeles, gas is in the threes right now, which is great. We usually pay about $5 a gallon, for the gas from the pump. We got crude down here at 80s right now. I was amazed that crude pushed even lower last night. I couldn't believe it. I thought for sure we'd get some bargain hunting, right? We talked about that last night in the newsletter. I thought for sure we'd get at least a little bit of bargain hunting last night, but it keeps tumbling. And of course, when it keeps tumbling, we keep staying patient and we look for prices to retrace off these lows so we can sell it right back down. I was even getting noticed last night from some of my hedge fund buddies that the street was talking about being a big buyer on crude right now. Where did that go? I mean, we are really dealing with a big problem with demand right now. There's not a lot of demand, right? You've got Ebola that's basically killed the travel industry, at least for the time being, right? It's not going to last forever, right? Ebola will get under control. As far as this afternoon goes, the CDC did confirm, though, that October 20th, they're projecting to have it contained in Africa, and so that should, of course, then eventually trickle, right? Just stay away from the airplanes coming back from Africa right now, right? That's probably a pretty good idea here if you're in the U.S. Bottom line, though, is right now between Ebola and warm weather, they're projecting right now, strong dollar, and the overall global slowdown right now, you're really seeing a lot of, there's no demand, right? There's no demand. So it's very easy to see we're bearish all the way down to that $80 a barrel. I can't even believe I'm talking about. I said the number 79 today. 79. I haven't said that number in a year. Incredible. Awesome stuff on the crude. And again, if you took our advice here, you stayed short on crude, you've been making money on crude with us for the past 6 months, right? We've been doing very well on crude this year. Moving forward here, though, from the 64 down to the 32. Here we go again. Here's another example. This is no surprise here, right? This has been what's been happening the past few days, right? Go back in time. Think back earlier this week, right? We collapsed 5% yesterday, 7% the 2 days before that, right? I bet they wish the markets were closed on Monday because it was a bloodbath. What happened was that big drop down, then all of a sudden what, right? We consolidate, a little bear flag here, right? Bear triangle, and then bam, right? Another push down. Consolidate. I said this last night, I'll say it again. Under normal conditions, you're not going to get that next leg down right now. This market is in need of some profit taking. It's in need of some bargain shoppers right now. We go all the way down to 80.18, right? 80.18. This was a projected support level, right? A target from last night's newsletter. We just sit here now and go sideways. So what is a trader going to do with this stuff? Well, here's the reality. Right now, the only way for us to do this safely and with me to continue using the same strategy that got us here, that's the key. Just because we're having such odd price action, well, it's not odd. It's just there's a change in the overall perception of value, right? It's not odd. This is the way the world works. So the perception of value is lower. Price is going to keep going lower. We have a really difficult time, though, selling the lows. So I want to be a seller. The trend is clearly down. We're sitting at this major support of 80. Sure, price could definitely keep going lower, but for me to get the most bang for the buck, I need this thing to come off these lows. So I want to get up off these lows here, and I want to sell this 82.75 symmetry. I want to sell this 83.15 trigger zone, right? 83.59, that was where I thought we'd get, right? Remember this from last night? I thought for sure we'd get back to that 83.59 and then do it all over again. Not the case, though. They just rolled over and played dead again here today. So we're bearish on crude. I'm looking for sells. I've got sell zones overhead, 82.75 for symmetry, 83.15 to 83.19 for trigger zone, 84.95 to 85.57 here, trigger zone, and then 86.29 for a double top here on the crude. As you can see here, again, bearish, but we have this range, right? We've got this range developed here. This is very, very common after a big drop like that, right? Big drop like that, they're going to consolidate, right? The buyers will, of course, look to buy at a bargain, at a discount. The sellers will take their profit, and then we'll regroup for tomorrow. I'm looking for price to go higher so I can sell it short at any of the levels you see projected above. As we go lower, I've got major support at 80 for a target. The trend line, the low of that channel is a great target. And then dare I say that is 78. 78, if you take this price wedge and you flip it on its side, you'll see the same range, right, down to that 78, right? So a very easy projection, very easy extension down to $78 a barrel. Again, I have a really hard time right now selling right now because, well, we've made all this money this year selling at the highs, and so I'm going to keep doing that. It's not easy to watch the bottom fall out of it without you in the trade, but again, I'll encourage you to focus on following your plan, right? Don't let this get you off your game right now. And whatever you do, don't let your ego get in the way, or don't let yourself think that you know everything about these markets. Remember, the odds are on our side when you sell at a premium, right? We get those lucky bounces. You start selling at those lows, you take a few losses, you lose confidence, and now you're right back to square one in your career again. That's what happens. So we focus on the plan, we execute the plan. Final chart here on crude, 16 anchor here on crude. Now you see that wedge I was talking about, right? Now you can see this chart really illustrates it well. We collapse, and now there's that consolidated range here. I was expecting this a little bit higher, right? I was expecting it to be up here, but it doesn't matter to me. There's my range. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark up this range here. This is my range. Now, a range like this tells me I can buy the lows and sell the highs. I want to stay away from the middle of this range, right? Mama says, don't fiddle with your middle, JJ. Sell the highs, buy the lows. Trend is down. So if somebody put a gun to my head and said, Joe, you got one trade tomorrow, what direction and where's it going to be? I would say, that's easy. No gun needed. I hate guns. I'll sell those highs. Why? Trend's down. I want to be a seller. Where do I want to get involved in a downtrend? When the market's overbought. Richard Wyckoff told us that about halfway through the 1900s. Richard Wyckoff told us You want to sell in a downtrend when the market is short-term overbought. Right now, we are not overbought right now. I want to wait for this price to get up off these lows, get up into the 82.06, get up into the 82.44, possibly all the way up at that 83.59. Now, if price goes higher here, I don't see any reason why you gamblers out there can't buy that move above 84 up to 83.59, right? You get about $1 of built-in profit there. I think that price should go pretty quickly to there, right? So what I'm going to do is, as this price goes higher, I'll be looking for the short. Tomorrow in the trade room, we'll watch. And this is, of course, if it goes higher. If it blows right through it, you know what I'm going to do, right? I'm not going to buy at that point. I'm going to wait for it to come back, pull back to that 102.44, and then once it starts making its move higher from there, then we got the green light to be a buyer. If it goes right through it and straight to 80.59, well, you missed it. Now we look for the short, right? So I would love to sell that high. So again, if you like playing blackjack in Vegas, right? You like gambling a little bit, you could buy that 82.44 up to 83.59. But just be careful, because you know what's going to happen. It may go up, consolidate, and then whoops-a-daisy right back down in, and guys like me will be selling that move back in. So sell those highs overhead. I wouldn't recommend buying the lows right now because we're in a downtrend, but again, in this type of range, you could buy those lows, and I'll use these targets, right, these levels as targets, 80.29, 80.53, those will be my targets. I do have a minor level here at 80.14, just in case you're curious. 80.14 is another target level here. 79.65 and 79.04. Those are going to be three targets here if this party keeps on cooking lower. So big problem right now is this consolidation. Don't force it. Wait for price to go up so you can get into a great spot to get short. If we make new lower lows again tonight, if we make new lower lows below this 80.01, that's going to reset the whole thing, and we'll come back tomorrow morning at 8 a.m., and we'll put a plan together tomorrow morning in real time, and we'll execute that plan together. Capiche? Deal? All right, perfect. Let's wrap it up. Talking about news here for tomorrow. Talking about the old news here for tomorrow. We have no news out of Asia tonight. Last we heard from the Beige Book, nothing new from the Beige Book here in the U.S. We have news galore tomorrow here. We're starting with the EU London session, 5 a.m., right? We get the home prices. We got merchandise trade at 5 a.m. We then go to jobless claims in the U.S. session, 8:30 a.m. We got CAD news, 8:30 a.m. By the way, guys, what commodity would be directly correlated to the news from the CAD? Think about it. What's the biggest export business in Canada? Crude, baby, crude. So 8:30 tomorrow morning, watch that crude oil, manufacturing sales. 8:30 tomorrow morning, the U.S., that's where you're going to get the meat and potatoes tomorrow. Jobless claims at 8:30, manufacturing out of Canada, right? Again, think crude when you see that big, right? That big leaf. And then, of course, industrial production, 9:15. I think the meat and potatoes tomorrow are going to be bright and early there for you guys tomorrow morning, right? You got two Red Star News events there, 8:30 and 9:15 tomorrow, one of which is industrial production, and you know that's one of my favorite news events in the calendar. So 9:15 industrial production. We got 45 minutes later, another one of my favorite. Now, this one's a sleeper. The Philly Fed survey has been providing me with tradable moves on crude, gold, everything for a decade now. I love the Philly Fed survey. I love industrial production. These are some of those, low, kind of mid-level news events. They're no non-farm, they're no GDP, they're no jobless claims, but they're definitely some market-moving events that you guys can use tomorrow. So 9:15 and 10 a.m. We got the housing market index at 10 a.m. o'clock. Joe, gosh, man, stick to your day job. Again, at 10 a.m. o'clock tomorrow morning, that was horrible, we've got two news events. Now, look closely. That's 11 a.m. crude oil inventories tomorrow. Wait. I thought inventories were on Wednesdays. They are, unless Monday is a holiday. And Monday this week was a holiday. Well, they called it a holiday, right? It was kind of the half holiday, right? So Petroleum status report tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Crude oil inventories. It's usually on Wednesdays at 10:30. When Monday's a holiday, it'll be at 11 o'clock on Thursdays. What does that tell me? It tells me tomorrow morning, be careful on crude oil. There are only two news events that directly apply to one market, or to a specific market, I should say. What are they? They're both tomorrow morning. Natural gas at 10:30, right, if you're a natty gas trader, and the crude oil inventory is at 11. Usually, it's natty gas on Thursday, crude oil on Wednesday. Monday was a holiday, so they put them back to back here. Those two news events are the only two news events we get as traders that apply only to one market. Think about it. Nothing else like it. So that means tomorrow morning, if you're trading natural gas, you're not touching that market until after 10:30. Crude oil, I'm not going to say you can't touch it because you get a bunch of good news, 8:30, 9:15, and 10 o'clock. I'm not going to say you can't touch crude for tomorrow morning before 11 o'clock, but be aware, a lot of traders tomorrow are going to be sitting on those hands until after 11 o'clock. I personally will be sitting on hands from 10:45 until at least 10 minutes past 11 o'clock news. Then we're going to regroup, figure out what the personality looks like after the news comes out. And remember, boys and girls, the news tomorrow morning on crude, all of this news, right? This goes for all of the economic news. The news itself has absolutely nothing to do with how the market reacts. It's all about perception. It's all about perception. We know that, right? We know. And we also know that when you're trading crude after inventories, remember, usually the first reaction is the wrong reaction. So if you're watching tomorrow and you're watching crude, 11 o'clock, news comes out, price jumps up, usually what happens is 10 minutes later, it's collapsing back down. So usually, not every time, I can think in the past, 3 or 4 months, I've seen a couple of them, very few of them though, have gone in the same direction as the initial reaction. So be patient, wait for that news to come out, find the direction, be suspicious of the initial reaction tomorrow after that news comes out, and then stay patient because you never know when you're going to get that big move after that inventory report comes out, right? Last but not least, that will take us into lunchtime, and then tomorrow afternoon, we have a 4 p.m. tick flows, Treasury, international capital, all the foreign investments coming into the U.S. That will be a very, very big report tomorrow. And whenever we have an afternoon news report, what do? How do we plan our day ahead of an afternoon news report? We go to lunch early and we come back from lunch early, right? So whenever there is an afternoon news report, traders will go to lunch a little bit early. They'll come back from lunch a little bit early so they can be ready for that 4 o'clock news. We've got OPEX on Friday. That means tomorrow is Thursday, the Thursday before OPEX. Tomorrow, I would expect to be a lot more consistent than we saw today. Today, we saw, what was it, 500,000 contracts traded on crude today? That's a lot, by the way, for crude. We saw 4 million on the S&P today. Tremendous amount of volatility, tremendous amount of volume. We're loving every minute of it right now in our trade room. But usually a day like today with all that volatility, usually that will result in a bit of a range-bound session tomorrow. No guarantees, obviously, no guarantees. If you're looking for this market to behave like it always does, you're in the wrong business right now. We are loving life right now with this volatility. So keep up the hard work, follow that plan, follow the trend, find your setups, and don't forget to come in and see me tomorrow morning in our live trade room, and we'll walk you through everything we're seeing at that time. Head over here to SchoolOfTrade.com. Before I let you guys go, I want to remind you guys over here at SchoolOfTrade.com, we got a free trial here on our website. Join that free trial. I'm going to send you an invitation to come out and join me in my trade room as a guest. And, of course, we've got beginner, intermediate, and advanced levels of membership, lifetime memberships here at School of Trade. And I've got someone standing by here 24/7 to take care of you guys on our live support on our website. So don't be afraid to ask for help if you need it. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for subscribing to our mailing list. And thank you for sharing this information with a friend. Now go download those charts, be ready for tomorrow, and we'll see you guys at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. rise and shine. We'll see you guys then. Adios, amigos. Bye-bye for now.